Hi friends, welcome to all. In this video, we are going to discuss CCNA version 7 lab activity, configure VLANs and trunking. Before coming to this activity, friends, if you like to get any CCNA project support or CCNA version 7 online classes, you can contact our team using our website. Link you will get from the description below. And also, if you like to get these type of technical videos in future, consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to enable that bell icon near to the subscribe button so that you will get notification message whenever we upload a new video. Now back to our lab activity. Here we can see the topology and its addressing table. Okay, we will go through the objectives. Build the network and configure basic device settings. Then create VLANs and assign switch ports. Maintain VLAN port assignments and the VLAN database. Also, we will configure an 802.1q trunk between the switches, and we will delete the VLAN database. And also, we will go through the scenario. Modern switches use virtual local area networks, that is VLANs, to improve
individual
network performance by separating large layer 2 broadcast domains into smaller ones. VLANs can also be used as a security measure by controlling which hosts communicate. In general, VLANs make it easier to design a network to support the goals of an organization. VLAN trunks are used to span VLANs across multiple devices. Trunks allow the traffic from multiple VLANs to travel over a single link. While keeping the VLAN identification and segmentation intact. In this lab, we will create VLANs on both switches in the topology, assign VLANs to switch access ports, verify that VLANs are working as expected, and then create a VLAN trunk between the two switches to allow hosts in the same VLAN to communicate through the trunk, regardless of which switch the host is actually attached to. They give a note here. The switches used with the CCNA hands-on labs are Cisco Catalyst 2960S series with the Cisco iOS release 15.2. Other router switches and Cisco iOS versions can be used. Depending on the model and the Cisco iOS version, the commands available and the output produced might vary from what is shown in the labs. Refer to the router interface summary table at the end of the lab for the correct interface identifiers. Again, a note, ensure that the routers and the switches have been raised and have no startup configurations. If you are unsure, contact your instructor. Anyways, here we are going to use Cisco packet tracer, so no need to worry about the startup configurations. And here they mentioned the required resources. We required 2 switches, that is Cisco 2960 series. Then we required 2 PCs, then required console cables to configure the Cisco iOS devices via the console ports. Then we required Ethernet cables as shown in the topology. So in part 1, build the network and configure basic device settings. We will set up the network topology and configure basic settings on the PC, host, and the switches. That can be done. Cable the network as shown in the topology. Attach the devices as shown in the topology diagram and cable as necessary. Coming to our topology, we will design this topology in our packet tracer. We will add 2 switches. Coming to network devices, switches, we will use a 2960 series. Then we will rename these switches as per the topology. It's S1 and this is S2. Then we will have two PCs, that is edge devices. And this is a PC-A. And here we have PC-B. Now we will connect these devices. Coming to connections, we will have copper straight through. Just we will press Control and we will select this copper straight through so that we can connect all these devices. Press Control from the keyboard and we can press. Okay, so coming to S1, here we will select fast Ethernet 0/6 to this PC-A. Fast Ethernet 0. Then again from S1, fast Ethernet 0/1 on S2, fast Ethernet 0/1. Then from S2, fast Ethernet 0/18 to this PC-B. In step 2, configure basic settings for each switch. Console into the switch and enable privileged exit mode, then enter configuration mode and assign a device.
Also, the mic. Oh, so the mic. Oh no, so the mic. So mic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. We will use my headphone. Okay. All right. So yes, please open and you can access the lab for this session from the Google Classroom. Yeah, I believe I already shared with you guys. And the practical, week 2 lab practical. Okay, we'll do the first one. Yeah, 346 lab, configure VLANs and trunking. All right. So let's just get on with it. Right. So all right. So when you open, you can see that we are given this topology. We have S1, S2, and two PCs, PCA and PCB. Right. So you're even given the addressing table as usual. Switch one, interface VLAN 1 to switch 2 VLAN 1 as well. IP addresses given there. Okay, and then subnet mask and default gateway only for PCA and B, right? Okay, so build this topology in your packet tracer, right? Our objectives in this lab is to build the network and configure basic device settings as usual. And then part 2 is the new part, yeah, that we've learned already, to create VLANs and assign switch ports. Okay, switch ports, yeah. And part 3, to maintain the VLAN port assignments and VLAN database. Part 4, configure the trunk, yeah, trunk link between the two switches S1 and S2. Okay, part 4. Then part 5, we reset everything up. We delete back the VLAN database. Right. So just a short instruction going through the background scenario. Yeah. Okay. So modern switches, well, basically those that has capabilities not the plug and play type. Use virtual local area networks or VLANs to improve network performance by separating large layer 2 broadcast domains into smaller ones. You already know this. Huh? VLANs can also be used as a security measure by controlling which host can communicate to each other. Right? In general, VLANs make it easier to design a network to support the goals of an organization. Right, so VLAN trunks are used to span VLANs across multiple devices. Meaning if you have extended star network, right, and because a single cable typically can only carry one type of VLAN. So by having a VLAN trunk, then you can carry multiple VLANs traffic, right? So that's what it's talking about. VLAN trunks are used to span VLANs across multiple devices, and trunks allow the traffic from multiple VLANs to travel over a single link while keeping the VLAN ID and segmentation intact, right? So in this lab, you will create VLANs on both switches in the topology. Remember, if you within the LAN, you're expecting to have, let's say, like 3 VLANs, then for all the switch that's participating, all of them must have identical VLANs configured in there. Okay, as long as you need those traffic from those VLANs you set up to travel between those switches, the two switches must have the same number of VLANs created with the same VLANs IDs. Remember that. Right. So VLAN trunks are used. Okay. In this lab, you will create VLANs of both switches in the topology. Assign VLANs to switch access port. Remember, switch access port. Access means access for the PC to the VLAN. So access ports always mean the ports that is facing a host. The ports on the switch that's facing the host, okay, or PC, laptop, whatever, that is the access port. Verify that VLANs are working as expected, and then create a VLAN trunk. Okay, trunk is always between switches. Okay, between two switches, and later on for inter-VLAN routing between a switch and a router for router on a stick. Okay. Right. Okay, allowing two switches to to allow the hosts in the same VLAN to communicate between themselves through the two switches via the trunk that you created, regardless of which switch the host is actually attached to. All right, so this just extra notes for the hardware part. The switches used with CCNA hands-on labs are Cisco Catalyst 2960s with Cisco iOS release version 15.2. Right, so other routers, switches, and Cisco iOS can be used depending on the model and Cisco's iOS version. Commands available might vary from the ones that is mentioned in the lab. Okay, for the hardware, because typically for hardware, your version is only as current as when you purchase the hardware, right? So time to time, if there is any update, then you have to manually update the version, just like your PC, update the version of the iOS inside the switches or router. Right, so as usual, the router switches for hardware, you have to reset them just in case you still have configuration from previous LAN. All right, so require resources, two switches two PCs, console cables, and Ethernet cables shown in topology. Okay. Part 1, build the network and configure basic device settings. Right. This one, just follow the required topology as shown. Cable the network shown in the topology, attach the device as shown in topology, and cable as necessary. So here you need the 2960s, 2960s, yeah, switches, two PCs, and just straight through cabling, right? Take note of the correct ports to use, right? Then configure basic setting, just follow A to M, right? It's very similar to what you've done last week. Okay. Step 3, configure PC host. That means you provide a addressing, refer to addressing table up top there. Okay. For what address, IP address you want to set for the PC. Finish that and verify that you can ping each other. Now, so far until step 4, this is a normal LAN, not segmented LAN, right? So, but you have to ensure that the normal LAN, okay, standard LAN works first before you configure the VLAN. So, ping from A to B, A to S1, right? And then PCB to S2, S1 to S2, right? Now, if you answered no, why were the pings unsuccessful? Should be successful. I don't see anything here that can cause any problem, right? Because everything is still default, right? So troubleshoot if you can, maybe you miss out certain configuration. Create VLANs and assign switchbox. So this is the part where is new for this week, yeah. Create the VLANs. Here is the step to create, right? So we got 4 VLANs here. VLAN 10, 20, 99 for management, and 1000 for native, right? So this create this on S1 and then create the same on S2. Now again, yes, you might want to type enter, but remember you can also do open a notepad, type all of this into the notepad, and then you can even type in the config terminal before VLAN 10, right? And then just simply copy paste if you want to do that way, or you can type one by one. Typing one by one, if you make a mistake, you have to go back, right? But if you save your command into Notepad, you can then save it for later. When you want to do revision, you can attempt it again and still have the correct answer for yourself. Right, so do the same on S2. Remember I said, if you want those two switches to participate in the same VLANs, okay, so you must have identical VLANs set up in both switches, okay. Now, this is just to tell yourself, okay, did I make the correct configuration for the VLANs, right? So, and also you want to see all the ports available. Show VLANs brief, right? So far you've created the VLANs, but you haven't assigned the ports yet. So all the ports still default to VLAN 1, right? But you already have the created 10, 20, 99, and 1000 earlier on in step 1, right? Okay. Answer questions directly here, so you can upload. Now, if you have created, so I forgot to mention last week, if you have created the packet tracer, right? Packet tracer, you save it. You can submit together with your Word document that you've entered, right? That's just a proof that you have done your labs. Yeah. In the hardware lab, of course, you can't do that. So typically, use answer. Do it and answer. It means, but based on your own on trust, right? If you're done. But if you do want to, because you've done the packet tracer, you save it. If you want to upload it together with your answer in the Word document, you can, yeah. Right. Step 2, assign VLANs to the correct switch interface. Now, because here is still based on default. Once you created your VLANs, right? Then you want to assign which ports to which VLAN. Okay, so you have to do one by one. Go to the interface. If the interface is this is the part where you have to decide which interface is facing the host and which interface is facing the switch. The one facing the other switch is the trunk link, right? So the port from the switch that's facing the host that you connect to the host is the access port. So for example, you can see that PCA is connected to the switch 1 via port F6. So go into config terminal, choose the interface F6, and then configure it as switch port mode access. And then we want to assign PCA, okay, as VLAN 10. So switch port access VLAN 10. Okay. And then VLAN 1, no IP address. So we don't want to use the VLAN 1, the default VLAN. Okay. Now select interface VLAN 99. Recall that 99 is assigned, right, as our management, no longer VLAN 1. So interface VLAN 199 IP address and provide the management IP address. Okay, 192.168.1.11.255.255.0 and complete. Then again, to confirm what you've done, show VLAN brief, show and then show IP interface brief. Please take note all the information shown to you so you can later on when you're doing troubleshooting, you know exactly what to look out for. So of course, the zero VLAN brief will show you now in addition to VLANs that you created, the ports that are assigned to which VLAN, right? Show IP interface brief. I'll let you try that one and see. Okay, what is it, and see what is the status of VLAN 99. Explain, right? So the question you have to figure out yourself, answer, right? Then assign DCB to the operation, same operation here, but for a switch number 2. So PCB is connected to S2 port F18. Again, that is access port, right? So configure it. Okay, so I think we need to configure the same, except that the IP address and certain things related to switch 2 and PCB. Okay, but in overall, commands are similar, right? For also PCB and S2 as well. Right, so part 3, maintain VLAN port assignments and the VLAN database. You will change the VLAN assignment to ports and remove VLANs from VLAN database. So here, okay, we want to assign which ports to VLAN 99. VLAN 99 is, let me just go back up here. I think it's given here. Pretty sure just now I was reading about the assignment. Yeah, VLAN 99 is management. So which VLAN is allowed to utilize management? Sorry, which port allows to utilize management VLAN? Right. So just follow. We want between port 511 to 24. Right. So that means you can decide which of the hosts connected to which port can do the management of the switch. Those not assigned to VLAN 99 cannot do the management switch, right? Switch management, sorry. Right. So this is the command that you can allow, okay, for management VLAN 99. Right. Again, after that, we want to remove a VLAN assignment. This one, we want to remove basically is to practice. If you made a mistake and you're signed incorrectly, how do you remove? So this exercise here in step 2 shows you how to do that. Right. So we have already assigned F24 right up here. It's part of the range. So we want to remove that particular port. right? So select that interface and do this command, right? So now you've removed it. Now, this is the thing that you need to find out, okay? Once you remove port 24 from the VLAN 99, I think, yeah? So if you check it, to which VLAN now is F24, port F24 associated with, okay? And then answer here. Right, step 3 also, another example or exercise for you to for troubleshooting later. If you make a mistake, you want to remove, then this is the way to do it. Remove a VLAN ID from the VLAN database, right?
Device name to the switch. Here we are not going to connect a console cable because we can access each devices using its CLI. Here we can see that. So here we will give enable, then configure terminal, or we can give the short command. It's a conf space T, or we can press a conf tab button from the keyboard, then T tab, press enter. So here we will set the host name, press tab as S1. So here we can see the host name is changed from the default name switch to S1. Now we will go to S2 CLI, press enter, enable, configure terminal, and here we can give a host name as S2. Next is a disable DNS lookup to prevent the router from attempting to translate incorrectly entered commands as through their host names. Okay, we can do that. We will go to S1 and we will disable this DNS lookup. The command is no IP domain lookup. Press enter. And coming to S2, here also we have to give a no IP domain lookup. Next is assign class as the privileged encrypted password, then assign a Cisco as the console password and enable login, then assign Cisco as the VTY password and enable login. Okay, we will do that. Coming to S1. First of all, we will enable secret and dimension the password as class to the password 215. We will set the password. We will do it on S2 Cisco. We will give the login command. Yet a banner that warns anyone accessing the device that unauthorized access is prohibited. Okay, these two can be done. We will go to S1. And here we can set the first we will encrypt all the plain text passwords. We have the command service password encryption. Now we will set banner MOTD. Banner message of the day. We will start with the delimiter. We will give a warning. We will give a message. Okay. Now we will go to S2. We will give a service password encryption. Then press enter. Here we can see the command. Okay, then now we have to set the banner MOTD. And we'll set the message, any warning message we can give. Unauthorized access is strictly prohibited. Next is configure the IP address listed in the addressing table for VLAN 1 on the switch. Okay, then we have to go to our addressing table, and here we can see VLAN 1 IP address for the device S1 and S2, 1.11 and 1.12 with the subnet mask. We will set this address in our switches. So coming to S1, here we can see just I will copy this address. Okay, now we will go to interface VLAN 1 and we will set the IP address. Here is the address. Then it's subnet to mask. Then we have to give no shut command, no shutdown. Now we will go to S2. Interface VLAN 1, and here is the IP address. It's 1.12. Then it's subnet to mask. Then no shutdown command. We will see what is next. Now shut down all interfaces that will not be used. Okay, that can be done. It's for the security purpose. Coming to our topology, here we can see in this switch S1 we used 2 ports, that is FA0/6 and FA0/1. So except these 2 ports, we will shut down all other ports. Okay, we can do that. We will exit, and here we will go to the interface as a range, fast Ethernet 0/2 till 5, because 1 we already used and 6 also used. Then comma, again a fast Ethernet 0/7 onwards till 24. Sorry. Also we have 2 gigabit Ethernet interfaces. We will give G (0/1-2). We will shut down all these interfaces. Now we will disable all the ports, all the unused ports in this switch S2. So coming to the topology here, we can see we used fast Ethernet 0/1 and 0/18 in this switch. So we will disable all ports except these 2 ports. we'll go to S2. And here we'll give a configure terminal, then we will go to the interfaces as a range. Fast third 0/2 till 17 because 1 we used and 18 also used. Then fast third 0/19 till 24. Also we have 2 gigabit Ethernet interfaces G0/1-2. Then press enter, we will give shutdown. Next is set the clock on the switch. Okay, that can be done. We will set that. We will go to S1. Password is Cisco, enable, password is class. Here we can verify the clock. So here we can see it's incorrect. We will set the clock. We will set the time. We will give it 10:00 minutes. Then enable, password is class. Here, okay, that can be done. We will set that. We will go to S1. Password is Cisco. Next is set the clock on the switch. Okay, that can be done. We will set that. We will go to S1. Password is Cisco, enable, password is class. Here we can verify the clock. So here we can see it's incorrect. We will set the clock. We will set the time. We will give it 10:00 minutes, then seconds. Then we have to set the date. It's a 3. Then the month. It's a May. Then the year. It's 2020. The same way we can do it in S2. Coming to S2, we will exit from this. We can press Ctrl Z. Then we will set that. Then the year 22 NB RAM. Then press enter. Now we configure the file name, address information. 10.3. So just then also they given the dash B. It's a default gateway. It's 10.1. Next. Okay, now step 4, test connectivity. Verify that the PC host can ping one another. It may be necessary to disable the PC's firewall to ping between PCs. Anyways, we are doing in packet tracer, so I need to worry about the firewall. So can PC-A ping PC-B? Can PC-A ping S1? Okay, we will test that. PC-B IP address, it's here. And here we can see we get the replies. Now we'll ping to our switch S1. Here is the address, just we'll copy that. And we will ping to it. So here, why it's failed the ping from PC-A to this S1? Here we can see this S1 and S2, they are in one subnet, and the PC-A and PC-B, they are in another subnet. So the ping failed. So here we will get the reply only from PC-B. If you ping from PC-A to S1 or S2, it will fail. Next is can PC-B ping S2. It won't work. We can try that. It's from PC-B. We'll go to PC-B and command prompt. Here we'll give the ping command. It's 1.12. So we can see we get a will work because they are in the same subnet. We can try. We will ping from S1, and here we can give the command ping to S2. It's 12. Okay, here we have to give only one ping. So success rate is 60%. Okay, once more we will try so that we will get 100%. Here we can see success rate is 100%. If you answered no to any of the above questions, why were the pings unsuccessful? Yes, already we discussed that. Here from PC-A, we cannot ping to S1. Also from PC-B, it's failed to S2 because they are in a different subnet. Now coming to part 2, create Vlans and assign switch ports. In part 2, we will create management operations, parking lot and native Vlans on both switches. You will then assign the Vlans to the appropriate interface. Then the show VLAN command is used to verify your configuration settings. Create VLANs on the switches. So you are going to create these VLANs with names. VLAN 10 operations, VLAN 20 it's a parking underscore lot, then VLAN 99 management, then VLAN 1000 as a native. Here they given the command how you have to create the VLANs. So we will do that on S1. We will go to S1. We'll give a configure terminal. We'll keep it here. Yeah. So configure terminal. Then we'll create a VLAN 10 and we'll give the name as operations. Then we will create a VLAN 20. Name as a parking underscore lot. Then we create VLAN 99. Name as a management. Then VLAN 1000. name as a native. Okay, we can do that. We will close this S1, then we will go to S2, configure to view the 9 and 1000 with it. Also, and what ports are assigned to the default VLAN. In this output pixel, we can see it's VLAN 1 is the default. And what ports are assigned to is the default VLAN. In this output pixel, we can see it's VLAN 1 is the default. And what ports are assigned to the default VLAN? Yeah, by default, all the ports, that is from fast ethernet 0/1 till 24. Also, 2 gigabit Ethernet interfaces are assigned to VLAN 1. We will verify in our switch S1. We will go to S1, and here we will give the show command, show VLAN brief. And here we can see the details. Here we have the VLANs created 10, 20, 99, and 1000 with its name, VLAN name, and we can see they are active. And here we can see the default VLAN, that is VLAN 1, its name is default, and we can see all the interfaces are assigned to this default VLAN 1. In step 2, assign VLANs to the correct switch interfaces. Assign VLANs to the interfaces on S1. Okay. Assign PC-A to the operation VLAN 1. We can see this PC-A is connected to the port fast ethernet 0/6 in this switch S1. So we will go to that interface, and then we will give the mode switch port mode as access. Then we will fast ethernet 0/6. Okay. Assign PC-8. In step 2, assigns are assigned to this default VLAN 1. In step 2, assign VLANs to the correct switch interfaces. Assign VLANs to the interfaces on S1. Okay. Assign PC-A to the operation VLAN 1. We can see this PC-A is connected to the port fast ethernet 0/6 in this switch S1. So we will go to that interface, and then we will give the mode switch port mode as access. Then we will assign VLAN 10 to this port FA 0/6. We will do that configuration. We will go to S1. Then here we will go to that interface. We will go to global configuration mode, configure a terminal, then the interface. Also, we can create a banner that once anyone accessing the device that unauthorized access is prohibited. Okay, these two serve banner will give a message. Anyone will focus for the device banner as switches. Okay, now we will go to interface VLAN 1 and we will set the IP address. Down. Now we will go to S2. Interface VLAN 1 and here, okay, we can do that. We will close this S1, then we will go to S2. Then VLAN 10, name operations VLAN 10,000. The show VLAN 10, 20, 99 and 1000 with its name. Okay, what is the default VLAN? Yeah, by default, all the ports name assigned to the select switch interfaces. Assign VLANs to the interfaces on S1/6 in this to this port FA0/6. We will do that config VLAN 99. Yes, face VLAN 99. First do VLAN 99. Okay, we will do that. Coming to our switch S1, we will give no IP address, and here we will assign the IP address. Issue the show VLAN brief command and verify that. Okay, first of all, we will give, before that, just we'll press Ctrl Z so that we can go to privilege exit mode. Here we will give a show VLAN brief, then press enter. Here we can see the details. We can see this port first 0/6 now assigned to VLAN 10. Now we will give the command show IP interface brief. Show IP interface brief. And here we can see the status of VLAN 99, correct? We can see VLAN 99. Here we can see its status up, but we can see this protocol is down. Here we can see status up and the protocol down because actually this VLAN already created. It is in the database, so that's why it's up. But we can see this VLAN is not assigned to any port. That's why this protocol shows down. Not assigned to any port. That's why created status up and the protocol down because actually this VLAN already created. It is in the database, so that's why it's up. But we can see this VLAN already created. It is in the database, so that's why it's up. But we can can see this VLAN is not assigned to any port. That's why this protocol shows down. Okay, right. Next is assign PC-B to the operations VLAN on S2. We will go to S2, then here enter password is Cisco, enable password is class. Okay, now we will give a configure terminal. We will go to that interface, fast Ethernet 0/18, which is connected to PC-B. Here we can see that this PC-B is connected to the interface fast Ethernet 0/18 in this switch S2. Okay, so here we will give the switch port mode as access. Then we will give a switch port access it's VLAN 10. move the IP address for VLAN 1 on S2. Okay, we will do that. Then we have to configure an IP address for VLAN 99 on IP address. Addressing table, it's 1.12. Okay, then press enter. Use the show VLAN brief command to verify that the VLANs are assigned to the correct interfaces. Okay, so is S1 able to ping S2? Explain. Anyways, before that, we will apply this show command. Just will press Ctrl Z and we will go to privilege exit mode. Here we will give a show VLAN brief command and we can see the details. Here we can see this port faster than 0/18 is assigned to VLAN 10. Next is S1 able to ping S2? Explain. I don't think so it will work. Anyways, we will try it. Just I will copy this IP address. We will go to S1 and here we will give ping to S2. Its IP address is 1.12. Correct, and press enter. And we will check it. I think it's not working. It won't work, no doubt. Here we can see success rate is 0%. Why it's not working? Actually, we assigned this IP address for the VLAN 99 and here by default this ports allows only VLAN 1, the default VLAN. Next is PC, the default. Here by default this ports allows only VLAN 1, the default VLAN. This ports for the VLAN 99 and what success rate is 0%. Why it's not working? Actually, we assigned this IP address for the VLAN 99 and here by default this ports allows only VLAN 1, the default VLAN. Next is PC-A able to ping PC-B? Explain. It won't work. Already we told the link between S1 and S2 will allow only the frame which is tagged with VLAN 1. But now our PC-A and PC-B, they are in VLAN 10, and this VLAN 10 won't be allowed through this link. Anyways, we will test it. We'll go to PC-A, command prompt won't be allowed through this link. -A and PC-B, they are only the frame which is tagged with VLAN 1. But now our PC-A and PC-B, they are in VLAN 10. And this VLAN 10 won't be allowed through this link. Anyways, we will test it. We'll go to PC-A, command prompt, and here we can use the up arrow so that we will get the command, or we can give that ping, and here is PC-B IP address, and we are waiting for the replies. We will get a request timed out. We can see it's failed. Packet sent 4 but received 0. Lost for 100% loss. Now in part 3, maintain VLAN port assignments and the VLAN database. In part 3, we will change VLAN assignments to ports and remove VLANs from the VLAN database. So in step 1, assign a VLAN to multiple interfaces. On S1, assign interfaces from faster 0/11 till 24 to VLAN 99, and here we can see the command. We have to go to those interfaces as a range. We will do faster turret 0 switch port mode as no we will here we can see reassign. Okay, we will do that 10 and here we will verify. It's 99 also 21. Here we can see that interface I mean those ports. Next is step 2 remove a VLAN assignment from our interface. The default VLAN. In step 3 remove a VLAN ID from the VLAN database and the interface FA0 a VLAN to access VLAN 1 port 30 and what is the details name by then end will give no VLAN to VLAN 30. So after deleting VLAN 30 from the VLAN database, what VLAN is port FA0/24 assigned to? What happens to the traffic destined to the host attached to FA0/24? We will give this a show command and show VLAN brief and we will check that interface FA0/24. Now here we cannot see that VLAN 30 it's removed and where is FA0/24? We cannot see anywhere. Actually we assigned an interface that is FA0/24 to the VLAN 30. Then after we deleted that VLAN 30, then we can see that FA0/24 is not assigned to any VLAN. That's why that interface that is FA0/24 is not listed in these ports. Now issue the no switch port access VLAN command on interface FA0/24. Then now that is FA0/24 is not listed in the VLAN. That VLAN 30. Then we can see that FA0/24 is not assigned to any VLAN. That's why that interface that is FA0/24 is not listed in these ports. Now issue the no switch port access VLAN command on interface FA0/24. Then issue the show VLAN brief command to determine. Issue the show VLAN brief command. Then FA0/24 was assigned to VLAN 30. So after deleting VLAN 30 from the VLAN database, what VLAN is port FA0/24 assigned to? What happens to the traffic destined to the host attached to FA0/24? We will give this a show command and show VLAN brief and we will check that interface FA0/24. Now here we cannot see that VLAN 30 it's removed and where is FA0/24? We cannot see anywhere. Actually we assigned an interface that is FA0/24 to the VLAN 30. Then after we deleted that VLAN 30, then we can see that FA0/24 is not assigned to any VLAN. That's why that interface that is FA0/24 is not listed in these ports. Now issue the no switch port access VLAN command on interface FA0/24. Then issue the show VLAN brief command to determine the VLAN assignment for this interface that is FA0/24. Terminal we will go to that interface faster turret 0 signed. We will check that. Configure terminal, we will go to that interface, fast Ethernet 0/24, and here we will give no switch port access VLAN. Now we will end, and here we will give a show VLAN brief. Now we can see this interface, I mean this port FA0/24 is assigned to the default to VLAN, that is VLAN 1. They given a note here. Before removing in the version 7 lab activity, implement VLANs and trunking. Before getting to this activity, friends, if you like to get any CCNA project support or CCNA online classes, you can contact our team using our website. Link you will get from the description below. And also, if you like to get this type of technical videos in future, consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to enable that bell icon near the subscribe button so that you will get notification message whenever we upload a new video. Now back to our activity. Here we can see the topology and addressing table. Also, they given here a VLAN table. We will go through the objectives. In part 1, build the network and configure basic device settings. Then in part 2, create VLANs and assign switch ports. Then in part 3, configure an 802.1q trunk between the switches. Now we will go to the scenario. Modern switches use virtual local area networks, that is VLANs, to improve network performance by separating large layer 2 broadcast domains into small ones. As switches use virtual 3, configure an 802.1q trunk between the switches. Now we will go to the scenario. Modern switches use virtual local area networks, that is VLANs, to improve network performance by separating large layer 2 broadcast domains into small ones. VLANs address scalability, security, and network management. In general, VLANs make it easier to design a network to support the goals of an organization. Communication between LANs requires a device operating at layer 3 of the OSI model. VLAN trunks are used to span VLANs across multiple devices. Allow the traffic from multiple VLANs to travel over a single link. Modern switches use virtual objectives. In part 1, build the network and configure basic device settings. Then in part 2, create VLANs and assign switch ports. Then in part 3, configure an 802.1q trunk between the switches. Now we will go to the scenario. Modern switches use virtual local area networks, that is VLANs, to improve network performance by separating large layer 2 broadcast domains into small ones. VLANs address scalability, security, and network management. In general, VLANs make it easier to design a network to support the goals of an organization. Communication between LANs requires a device operating at layer 3 of the OSI model. VLAN trunks are used to span VLANs across multiple devices. Trunks allow the traffic from multiple VLANs to travel over a single link, while keeping the VLAN identification and segmentation intact. In this lab, we will create VLANs on both switches in the topology. Assign VLANs to switch access ports, verify that VLANs are working as expected, and create VLAN trunks between the two switches. Here is a note. The switches used with the CCNA hands-on labs are Cisco Catalyst 2960 with the Cisco iOS release 15.2. Other switches and the Cisco iOS versions can be used. Depending on the model and the Cisco iOS version, the commands available and the output produced might vary from what is shown in the labs. Refer to the router interface summary table at the end of the lab for the correct interface identifiers. Anyways, here for this lab activity, we will use the Cisco Packet Tracer simulator. Again, they given a note here. Ensure that the switches have been erased and have no startup configurations. If you are unsure, contact your instructor. Yes, this should be done if you are using the real switches. I mean, not the Cisco Packet Tracer simulator. Okay, we will see the required resources. We required two switches. We can use this 2960 series. Then two PCs, console cables to configure the Cisco iOS device via the console ports. Anyway, this is not required because we can access switches directly in Cisco Packet Tracer. Then Ethernet cables as shown in the topology. Now coming to the instructions. Part 1. Build the network and configure basic device settings. In Part 1, we will set up the network topology and configure basic settings on the PC host and switches. Firstly, cable the network as shown in the topology. Attach the devices as shown in the topology diagram and the cable as necessary. Coming to our topology, here we can see the design. We will do that in our Cisco pack.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. So this the second session of our practical. Okay, we're looking at lab 2.2, 3.6.2 lab. Right, so it's very similar to the previous one, which is implementing VLANs and trunking. Right, so again, we are presented with this very similar topology. So we have PCA one side, switch 1, switch 2, right, and PCB addressing table, right? So we have set up, yeah. So switch 1 VLAN 10 2030, switch 2 VLAN 10, right, and the IP addresses that we can configure, yeah, right? Subnet masks, right? So we basically refer to this addressing table later when we are configuring all the IP addresses. Right, so the VLAN table indicates to us what are the VLANs we want to create. VLAN 10, 20, 30, 999, and 1000. So you can see, don't forget to put the description or name for each VLAN to recognize it. So 10 is specified as management, 20 as sales, 30 as operations, 999 as parking lot, 1000 as native. So 999 parking lot means it's just a placeholder. Okay, the way I see it, it's a placeholder where you can specify all the ports that's not being used or not connected to any host that you just, maybe for security reasons, yeah, you don't want it to be part of the data VLAN, so you just put it into parking lot lah, 999. As you know, parking lot in a building, parking lot is where you don't get access to anything lah, right? So you can see the interface later when you want to assign to the VLAN which interface, then you can have a look here, yeah. Have a look at the interface assign part, yeah. Right, so our objectives for this lab is to build network and configure basic device settings as usual. The next part will be to create VLANs and assign all the switch ports, right? So switch port could be access ports and also trunk ports, yeah. But part three, the switch ports will be access ports, so because part three is the creation of the trunk between trunk line link between the switches, S1 and S2, right? So basically it's a continuation, right? So while you're doing this, of course, if it's the first time you're doing this or second time, perhaps you still get to use the commands, right? Please remember to capture all the commands you type for your own use, right, into the notepad or something like that, right? And even after you've done through all, okay, if you have free times, maybe not today, maybe sometime, you can come back and try to do it at speed, right? Because you are required to do this configuration during, again, I want to mention SBA, because SBA, you need to pass the SBA, right? In order, because it's part of the course learning outcome, right? And you need to pass that component, okay? So even recall that I gave you guys an introduction to this course. There are two assessments. One is test, one is SBA, which is practical. So even if you have very high marks for your test and maybe low marks for SBA, right? And you get a coursework mark that is 50 and above. But if you fail your practical component, right? That means you don't reach half of the allocated assessment marks for practical, you're still going to fail. So you have to go for MAC for that, right? So we don't want to avoid. So that means going through the SBA and the first time and passing it. So which means since we know that creation of VLANs and so on is going to be part of the questions. So once you get used to it, yeah, first time, second time you go through it, maybe a bit slow, but after, right, to get used to the commands, you really have to just repeat it, right? The more times you do it, the more acquainted you are to the commands. Since this is open book, so even better if you can just have a copy in your digital notebook, how to do certain things, right? So as you go around here, take notes for your own consumption. And this once you done all this, okay, you submitted, you maybe want to do more exercises coming out from the NetAcad website and also the packet tracer, right? So you notice that in these two labs, the inter-VLAN routing it's not part of it because we focus on the creation of VLAN, setting up of the access port, and also the trunk ports. Yeah, but in your homework, right, the homework packet tracer 2.1 and 2.2 will shared with you. I think, yeah. So far I shared with you. Let me just double check. So far shared with you for homework. Right, so far it's packet tracer implementation, VLAN and tracing, configure router and stick, and also I'm gonna share also the troubleshooting inter VLAN routing and inter VLAN routing challenge, okay, as your homework to do, right? So I'll add to it, right? So that means you have in this week you have 4 packet tracer exercises at home to do, okay? If you notice on the Google Classroom, I've already shared 2 lah, implementing VLANs and trunking and configuring router on a stick inter VLAN routing, right? So the second part of after this I'm gonna upload is troubleshooting inter VLAN routing and inter VLAN routing challenge. Okay, so find some time at home when you're not disturbed and allocate yourself the time and try to do the packet tracer. Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah. So I want you to practice until you know it's become natural to you. You can remember. If not, to keep your digital notebook so that you can refer to it. Okay. Sometimes even though we know how to do it, sometimes we tend to forget the syntax, right? And the commands. So keeping a digital notebook beside when you're doing it, okay, will help you a lot. All right. So we want to get to the point where you are able to do this at speed by just looking at the question, the requirements, you know exactly what you need to do, and you can do it at speed. Okay, at speed because that means what we mean by at speed is at a speed where you can complete it within the time stipulated for your SBA or skill-based assessment, right? How long would that be? I, I have to check with our CC. CC will provide some more details closer to the time, right? So use all the techniques or tips, okay, to speed up how you want to configure. So basically, the understanding of the concept should be okay already. So it's just the implementation part you need to just practice to speed up. All right. Okay. Let's go back to our labs today. Okay. So basically, we're just going to very similar to this morning. Do the topology. Okay. Start with a new packet tracer to do it, and configure the VLANs, configure the access port, configure the trunk ports. Okay. Of course, the initial basic settings of you will have to do. That one is by default you need to do that, right? As required. So you can see here, part 1, build network and configure basic device settings. Okay, so this is very similar to what we've been doing this morning, the beginning part. Right, the attached cable basically is easier with packet tracer. So just connect them using the straight through cables, Ethernet cables. Right, so you can see configure basic settings are actually all provided to you. Assign the host name, device name, disable is no IP domain lookup. Assign class, this one enable secret, I think, class, and then assign Cisco, this one VTY. Okay, configure the VTY to enable login. Encrypt, I think this one is to set the encryption, right? To set the encryption, service password encryption, I think. Yeah. And then MOTD for creating the banner, right? Just put there maybe unauthorized access is probably prohibited for unauthorized users only accepted or something like that, right? And then save your running config. So copy running config to basically setup config. Okay, so this A to I here, you must already know the commands. If not, put it aside, put in text, use your digital notepad and memorize that part. Or you keep it aside so you can easily access it. Okay. Right, configuring PC host refer to the addressing table. Okay. Also, by now you should know how to apply the IP version 4 addresses already. Okay, to your PCs. Just refer to the addressing table on top. Right now, create VLANs, very similar. Creating VLANs, you in config terminal, invoke the VLAN and then provide its VLAN ID. Okay, provide the name, right? Provide the name based on the table as well. We have management, sales, operations, parking lot, and native, right? Now you have to create for both switch 1 and switch 2. Okay, if you want to allow all these VLANs to operate on both switch, so both switch must know this VLAN, so you have to have identical VLANs, okay, on both switch S1 and S2, right? So you specify which VLAN will have what IP address. Okay, so again, refer on the addressing table, interface VLAN 10, for example, IP address so and so, interface VLAN 20, and so, right? This is configure the management interface on each switch, right? All right, so here, assign all unused ports. So unused ports are ports that is not connected to anything like a host or each other to the switch, right? So these are unused ports. This is a kind of protection, right? So if you associate these ports that's not being used to basically, like for example, parking lot VLAN, that is VLAN 999. That means if anybody's happen to have access, physical access, and then try to plug in, right? Try to plug into port. They don't have access to any of the other data ports. Basically, they have access to the parking lot data VLAN, which means they can't communicate to any of the devices. So this is sort of security. So you can provide interface range, so faster, right? Which port that not, okay? Range, and something like that you can do, right? And then specify that the switch port milk access, right? And switch port access VLAN 999. Okay, and then don't forget, instead of no shutdown for these unused ports, put shutdown, right? Put shutdown. Again, another layer of security. So by default is someone plug in, it doesn't work. They have to attempt no shutdown, right? Then it go up, but then still VLAN is to 999. It means they cannot access any of the data VLANs, which is again another layer of security, right? So that's what you do. There you can see that administratively deactivate them. So instead of no shutdown, put shutdown. Okay, step 2, assign VLANs to the correct switch interfaces. So those ports or interface that is being used, right? Identify the 2 ports that or interface that is connected to the PC and specify their mode as access, and assign. So which PC is assigned VLAN what? Assign the correct PC to the correct VLAN. Okay, there are 2 PCs, PC A and PC B, right? Okay, so and verify. Okay, just do the show VLAN brief. Okay, it will show you the VLAN the VLAN, the default VLAN one, and also all the VLANs that you created, their names, their status, and the ports assigned to them. So very easy for you to see whether your configuration so far is correct. So just issue command show VLAN brief. Okay. And three is now we look at the ports or the interface or interfaces on the switch 1 and 2 that is connected to each other. So we want to convert them to trunk mode. So interface, and then interface, what's the interface ID? And then switch port mode trunk. Do for both interfaces on both
Here we will
switches.
add two switches.
Okay,
Here we can see network devices.
from
We
the
will select
topology,
switches
it's
and we will
fast
use this
Ethernet
2960
1 for both switches.
two switches, and we
Right.
will rename this as
And then
S1 and S2 A.
Yeah, this one manually configure trunk interface. Okay, to force trunking. B, set the native VLAN to 1000. So switch port trunk native VLAN 1000 for both switches. There's another part of trunk configuration specify that only this one is to allow for the trunk to allow which VLAN. So switch port trunk allowed, and then VLAN ID, comma ID, and so on. Okay, so the IDs are the 10, 20, 30, and 1000, the native. Right? All right. So D issue show, then you type this command, then you can verify whether your trunking ports are all correct. What is the native VLAN allowed and allowed VLANs across? If you configure correctly, you should see that what are VLANs allowed and which one is the native VLAN allowed. Okay, right. So verify connectivity. Verify connectivity between VLAN means you ping. Okay, PCA should be able to ping it's the switch because switch one port is got the VLAN 20, right? So PCB to switch to successful. Explain. PCB to switch to. Let me see. PCB to switch to. Is it possible? Successful or not? All right. So you check lah, and then if it's successful, explain. If not, also explain. Right? Any question?
No.
No.
Very similar to
No.
previous. Yeah. So you can, if you're not finished with the first one, you can continue with the first one since it's quite similar. And when you finish with the first one this morning, proceed to the second one. Right? Okay. So I will let you guys do it. Okay, but still monitoring our chat here on the Google Meet. Yeah. Right. So if you have any questions, not too sure about something, okay, then let me know. Right. So I'll you guys do, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right, Noah, Farah. Okay.
Okay.
Kelvin. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Before removing a VLAN from the database, it is recommended that you reassign all the ports assigned to that VLAN. Yes, we have to do that. Why should you reassign a port to another VLAN before removing the VLAN from the VLAN database? Yes, we have seen if you're not removing that port won't be listed here in this VLAN list. Now we will go to part 4. Configure an 802.1q trunk between or in this VLAN from the VLAN database. Yes, we have seen if you're not removing that port won't be listed here in this VLAN list. Now we will go to part 4. That. Why should you reassign a port to another VLAN before removing the VLAN from the VLAN database? Yes, we have seen if you're not removing that port won't be listed here in this VLAN list. Now we will go to part 4. Configure an 802.1q trunk between the switches, that is S1 and S2. In part 4, we will configure interface FA0/1 to use the dynamic trunking protocol, that is called the DTP, to allow it to negotiate the trunk mode. After this has been accomplished and verified, we will disable DTP on interface FA0/1 and manually configure it as a trunk. Yes, now we are going to allow all the VLANs to pass through this interface or through this link. Step 1, use a DTP to initiate trunking on FA0/1. The default DTP mode of a 2960 switch port is dynamic auto. This allows the interface to convert the link to a trunk.
To packet tracer homework, I've added 2 more. Okay, for 4.8 packet tracer troubleshooting inter VLAN routing and 4.51 packet tracer inter VLAN routing challenge. Okay, so I've updated it, and so that means this for this week. Okay, the homework packet tracer, there's 4 files. Right, as usual, you have 1 week. That means your deadline for this one is next week, next week's Wednesday. Right.
Okay.
Right. So,
Okay.
So far, Noel has turned in the week 1 submission complete already, right? Noel, Farah and Kelvin not yet, okay.
Yes, I'll send by tonight.
Okay. Yeah, and its deadline is actually until midnight.
Okay.
All right.
If the neighboring interface is set to trunk or dynamic desirable mode. Set FA0/1 on S1 to negotiate trunk mode. We have to give this command. We have to go to that interface, then switch port mode dynamic desirable. Okay. Okay, we will give that. Configure terminal. We will go to the interface faster 0/1. Yes. Now we will give this command switch port mode. It's a dynamic desirable. Then press enter. So you should also receive link status messages on S2. Okay, we'll wait for that. We'll go to S2, and here we can see those messages. Issue the show VLAN brief command on S1 and S2. Interface FS0/1 is no longer longer assigned to VLAN 1. VLAN brief interface trunk. So we will give it, you can see VLAN 1 is a trunk, and here we can see the details. Port is FS0/1. Share is trunking native VLAN 1, and here we can see allowed VLANs. They given a note here by default all VLANs are allowed on a trunk. The switchboard trunk command allows you to control what VLANs have access to the trunk. For this lab, keep the default settings which allows all VLANs to traverse FS0/1. Okay, so verify that VLAN traffic is traveling over trunk interface FS0/1. Now can S1 ping S2? Then can PC-A ping PC-B? We will check that. First of all, we will ping from S1 to S2. We will get the IP address of S2, show IP interface brief, and we will get its IP address. We will copy it. Then coming to S1, CLI, here we will ping to that switch. And we are waiting for the replies. Here success rate is 60%. Once more we will try so that we get 100%. Yes, it's working. Now can PC-A ping PC-B? We will get a PC-B IP address. Then we will go to PC-A command prompt. We will ping to that PC. And we get the replies. It's working now. Next is can PC-A ping S1? We have to verify that. We will get its IP address, S1 IP address. Show IP interface brief. And we will copy this address. Then coming to PC-A command prompt. So we will ping to ES1. Request timed out. It may work. Oh, it won't work because they are in different subnets. Correct, exactly. It won't work. No doubt. Request timed out. No, it's not working. Now can PC-B ping S2? It won't work because they are in different subnet and in different VLANs. Okay, we will go to PC-B. We will ping to S2. Here is the command. Request timed out. No, it's not working. If you answered no to any of the above questions, explain below. Yeah, already told because this S1 and S2 they are in VLAN 99 and they have different subnet address. PC-A and PC-B they are in VLAN 10 and they are in different subnet. Coming to step 2, manually configure trunk interface FA0/1. Change the switch port of go to the interface FA0. We will do it on 0. Okay. Then we will give a switch port mode as a trunk. Then we will go to S2 1000. Okay. By default, this native VLAN it's 1000. Now issue the show interface as trunk command to view the trunk. Notice the native VLAN information is updated. Okay. We will check that. Show interface trunk. Coming to S1, and here we can see we are getting a message native VLAN mismatch. Yes, because we configure native VLAN here in the switch S1 as 1000, and parallelly we have to configure on the switch S2 also. That's why we get this message. Okay, so just we will end here and we will give a show VLAN brief. Notice we will give a show interface as a trunk, and here we can see details. Now we can see mode is not disabled, it shows on. So manually we configure the trunk, and we can see native VLAN is 1000. Coming to S2, here also we can see that mismatch. End it. Show interface as trunk. And here we can see native VLAN is in 1, so we have to assign to 1000. And here we can see mode is changed to on from auto. So here we will give a configure terminal. We will go to the interface faster third 0/1, and we will give a switch port trunk native VLAN 1000. And here we can see it says this port consistency restored. Because here we configure this native VLAN to 1000 as we configured in this switch S1. Here, why might you want to manually configure an interface to trunk mode instead of using DTP? Here, this DTP, that is a dynamic trunking protocol, is a Cisco proprietary protocol. It will work only on Cisco switches. Suppose if you want to use some other vendor switches, then we must configure manually. Again, one more question. Why might you want to change the native VLAN on a trunk? Yeah, obviously all of them know by default native VLAN is in VLAN 1. So obviously it's a security risk. So better to change this native VLAN to some other VLAN number. Coming to part, it's a deep native to use some other vendor switches, then we must configure manually. Again, one more question. Why might you want to change the native VLAN on a trunk? Yeah, obviously all of them know by default native VLAN is in VLAN 1. So obviously it's a security risk. So better to change this native VLAN to some other VLAN number. Coming to part 5, delete the VLAN database. In part 5, we will delete the VLAN database from the switch. It is necessary to do this when initializing a switch back to its default settings. In step 1, determine if the VLAN database exists. So we have to give this command, issue the, and what we have chosen, it's a default. Issue the DTs to confirm, we will confirm. Again, we will give this a show flash command and we will verify that the startup config so that we can bring. And here we cannot see that file vlan.dat. House on VLAN 99. Default settings. Okay, now we will try with this show flash command. Show config so that we can bring its default settings. Okay, but other commands are needed. Give this a show flash command and we will verify that that file is deleted. To initialize a switch back to its default settings, but other commands are needed. Okay, obviously we can erase the startup config so that we can bring its default settings. Okay, now we will try with this show flash command. Default settings. Erase the startup config so that we can bring it. Okay, obviously we can erase the startup config so that we can bring its default settings. Okay, now we will try with this show flash command. Show flash, and here we cannot see that file vlan.dat. Now coming to these reflection questions, what is needed to allow allow host on VLAN 10 show flash, and here we cannot. Let's try with this. Okay, obviously that file is deleted. To initialize a switch back to its default settings, what other commands are needed? Okay, obviously we can erase the startup config so that we can bring its default settings. Okay, now we will try with this show flash command. Show flash, and here we cannot see that file vlan.dat. Now coming to these reflection questions. What is needed to allow host on VLAN 10 to communicate to host on VLAN 99? So here, if you want to communicate from one VLAN to another, we have to enable inter-VLAN routing. So for inter-VLAN routing, we must use either a router or a layer 3 switch. Commonly, we can say a layer 3 device. And we will see this inter-VLAN routing configuration in the forthcoming video. Next is what are some primary benefits that an organization can receive through effective use of VLANs? Obviously, there are some benefits of using VLANs like better security, then cost savings. Also, we have efficient use of bandwidth in uplinks. Then we have higher performance because it reduces the broadcast domain. Then we have broadcast storm mitigation, etc. Okay, so it reduces the broadcast domain. Then we have broadcast storm mitigation, etc. The VLANs like better security, then cost savings. Also, we have efficient use of bandwidth in uplinks. Then we have higher performance because it reduces the broadcast domain. Bandwidth in uplinks. Then we have higher performance because it reduces the broadcast domain. Of bandwidth in uplinks. Then we have higher performance because it reduces the broadcast domain. Then we have broadcast storm mitigation, etc. Okay, so friends, in this video we discussed the lab activity, configure VLANs and trunking. Now dear friends, if you have any doubt, any suggestions, please comment below. Also, if you like our video, give a thumb and share with all your friends. And if you like to contact us for any support, you can visit our website. Stay tuned and we will meet again with the next video. We'll encrypt all the plain text passwords, IP, domain, lookup, console password and enable login. Then assign Cisco as the VTY password and enable login. Enable secret, password is class. Now we will go to line console 0 and we will enable the password as Cisco. Then we will give the command login. Now we
Yeah, Kelvin, use your
will exit.
email,
Then we will
yeah?
go to the line VTY
All right.
for all the lines from 0 to 15.
Although the SPA is still long way in week 7, right? The packet tracer for the SPA also will be using your own email. So please use your email.
Oh, my first home my practical one for homework I didn't use my email. Is still okay, right? Is it? Oh,
Okay lah. Okay lah. For that one is okay lah. For from now on lah. Huh?
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We will set the password as Cisco, then login. Now we will do it on S2. We'll enable a secret as class. Then we'll go to line console 0 and we will set the password as Cisco. We will give the login command. Exit and then go to line VTY. For all the lines from okay, these service password encryption. Now we will set banner MOTD, banner message of the day. We will start with the
How are you guys doing so far? How's your progress? Okay, ka? Encounter any difficulties?
Oh no, I finished the lab 2.2. I doing like the practical one again.
Oh, okay, all right. How about you, Noel? I guess Noel is not in front of keyboard. How about you, Farah?
I'm at I'm in a lab 2.2. On part 3.
Part 3. Oh, all right.
Yeah, on part 3.
Oh, good. So you're getting used to the commands already, yeah?
Just a bit lah. A bit
Uh,
slow lah.
Okay. It's like that because it's new commands.
Yeah.
Remember to save the command for your own notes, right?
Okay.
Sometimes you can forget. So remember to save it in Notepad or whatever app you use, lah.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is PC-B. Now coming to the connectivity, here we can see connections, and we will choose copper straight through. From PC-A, fast Ethernet 0, on S1 FA0/6, that is fast Ethernet 0/6. Copper straight through cable from S1 will connect to FA0/1 to FA0/1 on S2. And finally, we will select this copper straight through again from S2 FA0/18 to fast Ethernet 0 on PC-B. Now in step 2, configure basic settings for each switch CLI. Enable configure terminal, we can give in short CONF space T, then host name as S2. Next is a disable DNS lookup. Coming to S1, here we will give the command no IP domain lookup. And coming to S2, no IP domain lookup. Assign class as the privileged exit encrypted password. Okay, coming to S1, enable secret as class. Coming to S2, enable secret as class. Next is assign Cisco as the console password and the enable login. Same password we have to give for VTY also. Then we have to enable a login. So coming to S1, we will do that. Here we have to go to line modes. First of all, we'll go to line console 0. We will set the password as Cisco. We'll set the password as exit, then go to Cisco. Now encrypt the plain text passwords. Prohibited. Then to the startup configuration. Run to CLI here. We will exit and then we will give a copy running on table for PC. Here we can see PC-A IP address. Also, we can see PC-B IP address, and it's a subnet mask. So coming to PC-A. We'll go to desktop IP configuration, and here we'll give that IP address. Then subnet to mask. Coming to PC-B, desktop IP configuration. Here is its IP address. So coming to PC-A, we'll go to desktop IP configuration, and here we'll give that IP address. Then subnet to mask. Coming to PC-B, desktop IP configuration. Here is its IP address. It's a 30.13. Then here we can see it's subnet to mask. In part 2, create VLANs and assign switch ports. In part 2, we will create VLANs as specified in the table above on both switches. We will then assign the VLANs to the appropriate interface. The show ports to PC-EP and CP-A. Destination file name, we will use this default file name, so just press enter. Now we will go to S2 CLI here. We will exit and then we will give a copy running config startup config. That's all in step 2. In step 3, configure PC host. Refer to the addressing table for PC host address information. Okay, we will configure this PC-A and PC-B as per our addressing table. Here we can see PC-A IP address. Also we can see PC-B IP address, and it's a subnet to mask. So coming to PC-A, we'll go to desktop IP configuration, and here we'll give that IP address. Then subnet to mask. Coming to PC-B, desktop IP configuration. Here is its IP address. It's a 30.13. Then here we can see it's subnet to mask. In part, then subnet to mask. Coming to PC-B. Desktop IP configuration. Here is its IP address. It's a 30.13. Then here we can see it's subnet to mask. In part 2, create VLANs and assign switch ports. In part 2, we will create VLANs as specified in the table above on both switches. We will then assign the VLANs to the appropriate interface. The show VLAN brief command is used to verify your configuration settings. Complete the following task on each switch. Okay, create VLANs on both switches. Create and name the required VLANs on each switch from the table above. Here we can see our table, VLAN table. First of all, we will create it on S1 CLI. Okay, configure terminal. We will create VLAN 10 first. Then we will give the name as management.
Okay, Farah, whichever version is all right. If you open the packet tracer, I'll just tell you first, PKA means packet tracer activity files. Usually that version is created by the instructor okay, to create an activity file for the students to work on, right? So if you save the PKT file also, it's okay lah. Huh? So okay, Farah? Okay. So all right, so I continue here. This is this is the first homework. So there's nothing new in terms of commands here, right? In terms of commands, still the same all. So just that the topology is slightly larger. There are three switches and seven PCs, 7 hosts, and one IP phone, VoIP phone. All right. So configuring it probably take a bit longer, but it's not no commands. It's not harder than the other one, right? So as usual, configure the VLANs. Okay, configure the VLANs first for the switches. If you're asked, I'm not sure. Let me just double check the basic management. Since the packet tracer didn't ask you to do the basic configuration, so basically you just straight away go to configure VLANs. You follow the packet tracer activity. As usual, you can check the completion rate for this one. So create the VLANs according to the VLAN table, right? VLAN table, and then there's also a provided addressing table for you to complete the addressing, right? So all the the cable that's connecting from the PC to the switches should be mode access. So access ports lah. And then from the switch B to A to C, okay, this part, those two should be trunk links lah. And just remember that there's a voice VLAN. So the access port here for FA04 for switch C, please remember to enable the voice VLAN also for the access port. Okay, and that's the only thing that we didn't touch on during our practical, the lab. Okay, so voice VLAN here. Okay, so the rest are okay. So rest all the same. Now the thing is, you part 3, configure static trunking means manually configuring the switch A's and switch B trunk to static. Static means manually and permanently setting trunk ports. But for A to C, you're asked to use the DTP, right? So again, the commands to do that is in the slides already. Okay, so you refer to the table matrix. Okay, which port set as what, desirable, auto negotiate, all this. All right. For part 4, configure the port G2 on SWA and G2 on SWC as DTP, using DTP, dynamic trunking. Whereas the G1 on SWB and G1 on SWA, permanent trunking, manual permanent trunking. Right, and that's it. Okay, that's it. Just to let you know, if you try to ping, you can only ping within the same VLAN because this is just VLAN without any inter-VLAN routing. So perhaps if you want to ping from PC1 to PC2 or PC3 or different VLANs from then it will fail because there's no routing. All right. Okay, so let me close that and let's look at the second packet tracer. It's just to to give you a heads up on right. Still need to log in. Okay, let me just log in first.
Oh yeah, if I didn't manage to 100% the homeworks, what can I still submit?
Yeah, you can, but you would want to. I imagine you would want to know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can ask me. Yeah, you can ask me which part are you cannot complete.
Oh,
Right. Yeah. So here you can see. Okay, let me just share my screen. I thought you guys can see my screen. All right. Here, share my screen first. All right. So to guide you, remember that you can check result. Okay. Hang on. Why is this? There is something. Oh yeah. Okay. Click guess first. I'm not doing so. I just click guess first. Right. Okay. So you can check result. Right. So assessment item. You can see. Right. Kelvin, do you manage to go to the check result and check the assessment item?
yeah. I just finished the first one. The
Yeah.
homework.
So if you're not complete, that means not 100%. So
Yeah.
go to this part, then where the X is, that means is incorrect. So do the troubleshooting and check your configuration whether something is wrong there. That means you miss out something, or maybe you got typo or something like that. Right? So that's use this as a guide lah. Right? So showing correct items, or just show all again. You can see XXX means I haven't started, so all this not done yet. Okay, this is also your guide to show what you have done, what you have not done. If not complete, then which part not correct. All right. So this one, this simpler. This is simpler, whereby when I say simpler, the topology is simpler. You have PC, switch, PC3, and then the router. So here you want to configure router and stick. So apart from the router, all the other commands the same. Okay, for the port pointing to PC1 on the switch one, access ports similar to the one pointing or connected to PC3 access port. Okay, set up your VLAN 10 and 30 on here, and then for the switch one to router, configure the as trunk port or trunk link. And at the router, you need to create the sub interface. Remember, one sub interface for each VLAN 10 that you want to be routed. Sorry, not VLAN 10 only. Any VLAN that you want to be routed by the router, you create the sub interface, okay, for that particular VLAN. All right. So again, this one I see that is straightforward. It actually tells you how to configure it, and then after that you test. So this one, the ping is from PC1 to PC3 and vice versa. See if your configuration correct, then PC1 and PC3 can ping to each other. Right. So this one, any question on this one, this homework?
No.
No.
Straightforward again. All right. Okay, let me just open the other type, the other one. Let me just share that one. Right, troubleshooting into VLAN, you will see that it's also a router. This router and the stick, there's only one link between switch one and router one, so you straight away you know that it's router on the stick. Right, so there's another problem here. You're given the addressing, so the addressing you can check one by one the host, the switch, and the sub interface, right? And I think this one got VLAN 10 and 30. So make sure that the correct VLAN on the correct interface is given, and the correct VLAN on the correct host or PC is also given, and the port that is pointing to the PC, right? So since you already know, okay, you already know how to configure router on the stick. So all you need to do is you can also do systematically, step by step. checking the configuration, right? In the packet tracer notes, activity notes, you can see the commands that may be useful for you is shown as, for example, show IP interface brief, show interface sub interfaces, yeah, for the router, just to see whether the configuration follows the topology and the addressing table, right? So once you identify, okay, in the problem section, you enter. So this one, you can't type into the packet tracer activity itself. So what you can do is create a Word document, rename it into the title of this packet tracer in troubleshooting the VLAN routing. You can copy paste the table you can see in the packet tracer activity file. Okay, the table is given there, the documentation table, because you do need to submit to write down what you think is the problem when you see it and what is the solution. Okay, once you document that, okay, save as a Word document, and then implement the solution you have written down, and then test. Okay, test to make sure that your solution works. There's no more error. Okay, so I think that's it for this troubleshooting into VLAN routing. This is basically detective work or forensic work to find out. So my tip for you is to do it systematically. Decide step by step which one you check first, right? Maybe you say, oh, I want to check all the addresses first. So start with the host, then the the sub interfaces, see whether all of them are correct. Then you say, I want to check the VLANs. Okay, is there really a VLAN 10 and 30s specified in S1? If there is, then for the port. So which port is supposed to be configured with VLAN 10? You check. Which port? And you check. And then which sub interfaces? You check. Right? And then so that's how you progress systematically. And that means you basically list out, then you tick tick tick. This is your own notes lah. Tick 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 tick, so that you know you cover all the eventualities. In our slides in our lecture, you have seen the potential problems. You can summarize that problems, okay? Make it into a list. So that becomes your troubleshooting list. Okay, so how you arrange the list systematically is up to you lah. Which one you find makes sense to you. But once you have the list, then it's simply following the list to check. That's better, right? So you know you check this one, okay, that is correct already. Check the next one, correct already. Check the next one. Again, I want to teach you guys to do things systematically, right? So that you don't miss anything. If you do it systematically, you won't miss any of the problems, okay? Because when you do the configuration, you also do it systematically. So if you want, you can do the list of checking based on the if you are configuring, right? As if you're configuring, but instead you're checking, right? Checking. So all the values are correct, right? Okay, so let's look at the fourth and final homework, which is inter-VLAN routing challenge. So let's have a look at that. Open first. All right.
Oh, sir, you lagging.
Oh, okay. Hang on, I was just responding to a message just now. Sorry about that. I got a delay. Hang on, let me. Where is it? This one. Okay, right. So now this is a little. This could be a little bit daunting. Okay, but with the experience you did all the three. That's why I believe this as the last one with the three exercises or packet tracer activities that you've done, right? Okay, so I think this should be okay. This one is inter-VLAN routing challenge. Okay, so the in terms of doing this, you are given addresses again, addressing tables, right? And VLAN with its port assignment table. Again, uh, you have full range of VLANs you have to do, faculty, students, guests, native, and management. But you've done this in our lab for today, so should be okay, right? And then the interface that you have to specify this VLAN belong to, right? And so in this scenario, you will demonstrate reinforce your ability to implement inter-VLAN routing, including configuring IP addresses, VLAN trunking, and sub-interfaces. Now, these are the kind of exercises that leads to, to the, I mean, is if you're taking the CCNA course, right? These are the type of um, exercises they will provide to you that is very similar to the test that they're going to give you on packet tracer or even on the real machine, right? So you are asked to perform a full set of configuration, right? So here there is no longer a step-by-step instruction for you. You are just told, you're just given the requirements and you're just told what to do. So, for example, very brief, right? If you have a look at the packet tracer activity, you're just given two tables. One is the addressing table, so you can refer to that for addressing needs, and the VLAN and ports assignment table, so you know what VLANs to create, given its description also, and all the interfaces, right? Interfaces that is assigned to the VLANs. Now, you can see the instruction. That's why this is a challenge. If you can do this, right, then that means you're not mastered, but you know how to do the inter VLAN, to setting up VLANs, both access port, trunk links, and also the router, the routing, inter VLAN routing. This one's still router on stick because there's no multi-layer switch. Yeah, so assign IP addressing to the router 1 and switch 1 based on the addressing table. Configure the default gateway on S1. So default gateway, we know default gateway should be on the router. And since this is VLAN 10 2030, so that means using sub interfaces on R1, right? Sub interfaces on R1, and the gateway for each of the VLAN should be on those sub interfaces, right? And so the switch one management interface also, if you want to provide a way out or remote access to it, so there should be assigned gateway also for that management port. Okay, management interface. Right, create name and assign VLANs on S1 based on the VLAN port assignment table. Port should be in access mode. Access mode for the basically the PC1, PC2, PC3, right? Okay, so your VLAN names should match the names in the table exactly. So I think it's should be case sensitive. Why should match the names in the table exactly? Because the packet tracer, when it's ticking the or ticking the checkboxes to see whether you have done correctly, when you check result, there it will check the name versus the VLAN exactly the same. So even though you put students, but you put lowercase s as the first letter for students, it might not match. Okay, so then you see that your check results, there's some maybe not 100%. So just copy paste the names from the table into your VLAN setting. All right. Then configure G1 of S1. And here it's not shown, right? Topology, so you have to figure out yourself. Okay. Since S1 configure G1 of S1, so G1 gigabit, right? Gigabit usually not connect to PC. Fast Ethernet connect to PC. Gigabit usually reserved to connect to router. So we know that the G1 interface of S1 should be the one that is connected to the router. So that one, you have to specify as static trunk, which means no DTP, yeah? Okay. And then assign native VLAN. All ports that are not assigned to VLAN should be disabled. So again, what we have learned in the lab today, to disable means you set it to a different VLAN and then shut down, right? Configure inter-VLAN routing on R1 based on addressing table. So yeah, you can see the G1 sub interface 10, 20, 30, 80, 88, and 99, right? Okay, so after that, verify connectivity between R1, S1, and all PCs. And they should be able to ping not only each other, but also the server, right? Okay, so the HQ part, no need to configure that one, and the server part, no need. You only configure your part, within R1, within the network, the LAN inside R1. Okay, that part only you configure. The rest is auto already done for you. So the moment you finish doing the sub interfaces and all the steps in the instruction, then you can try ping each other first, 10, 20, right? Should be, if you manage to ping each other like VLAN 10 to 20 to 30, then you should also be able to ping to server. All right. Don't forget for the router, just in case you enable routing. Okay, enable the routing for R1, and it should be done. Okay. Any questions on this final packet tracer for homework?
No.
No.
No, straightforward. Can all the commands you should have already encountered. Oh, Kelvin, okay or not? Any question, Kelvin?
I think so.
Okay. All right.